are working. All right. All right, I'll go. So worked on it. Working on the feature.
Can you zoom in?
Very how?
Can you zoom?
Yeah.
Can you zoom in?
Yeah.
Can you zoom
Yeah.
in?
So we have this feature, right, where you can click on a thing and create a filtered measure from a column. That's been around for a while. There's been this request though to just like when you have a bunch of pivots, pivots are good for a lot of things. They're dynamic, but you can't drag them around and like customize the ordering, right? So built this feature and still don't know what to call it. This is on my local, but it's this right now. This is the menu option. So you hit this pivot explode button. Let's ignore those options for a second. And now I've taken this is just a 2x2 pivot. And now I've got these 4 filtered measures from the things that were in the pivot. So the reason this initially came up is for period over period. It's a good way to create these period over period filtered measures that more or less exist on the back end now. But yeah, so you can also explode pivot on the period over period, and then you end up with these period over period filtered measures.
Woohoo!
And you can go to, and so one note for now, I've put them in query fields, which is, I think I'm going to launch with it for now because it's like you could accidentally add like 50 fields to your workbook this way. We can see how that goes out in the field, but and tweak. But if we want to look at it, right, it's got these 2 magic things, this special period over period measure. It's created the date offset from query 1 year and cancel query filter true. In other words, ignore the date filter on the query, but take the date filter on the query and offset it 1 year. And yeah.
Does this also mean that you can just create measures like this now?
Yeah. This is how. I mean, you could before you had the create filter measure with a single pivot, but yeah, now you can.
Yeah. But the offset date thing is like a thing.
Well, actually, that's a good point. I may not have wired. I should make sure that I doubt I wired this up to this. I should make sure it's wired up to this button.
Okay.
Period over period. And then just checking out the options in that menu a little bit. So here I've got pivoted by state, sorted by. Also, this is a good reminder. I don't think anybody knows this. Do people know this feature exists? You've got this little, you can click on these that sort by the values in a row, or you can click on it here and sort by the values in a column total. Anyway, reminder that exists if you don't know it exists. But here I've got this sorted by the total by state. So I want to explode the pivot, but I don't really want 50 pivots. So I've got this, there are these 2 options here. So I can add another bucket. And once I choose to do that, I can say, okay, actually, I only want, the first 2, say, pivot columns. And then I hit that and it's decomposed it, right? It's got California, Texas, and then it's just thrown this other bucket over here.
This is awesome.
So that, yeah, because the problem with a pivot, right? If you just throw away your pivot and turn it on to filtered measures, then new values might show up and you wouldn't see those values. So if you have another bucket, at least like things will flow into the other bucket over time.
So cool.
Is it actually creating the fields somewhere? Oh yeah.
Yeah, so they're in here. And so yeah, you can just go, if you just great, I love all these measures. You can just do that, then they're there. Otherwise you could add them selectively.
This is going to sound a little crazy, but would it be possible in the future for this to be the default way that pivots work?
It would make me kind of sad. The pivots are kind of my original baby, and this is like,
no, I mean, but I think there are so many use cases for this, especially when you start touching calcs. Like essentially you're either making a % of row or a % of column or something like that, and you want it to fill the whole matrix. But like as soon as you hit sort of put outside pivot, you probably want this instead because you're trying to do something that is not like structural to the table.
Yeah, I think okay. A better answer is no. I don't think you'd want to do it like when you click pivot because suddenly you'd like 100 measures and you'd be like, what happened? Right, but but we could surface it more prominently, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's, and I actually think that you want a pivot in the normal case. I just think a lot of times when you start touching it and you're trying to do anything that is not global to the whole table, you actually want it to be this. And it opens up a lot of stuff in the viz config that is like, you can hand control. Like I literally did one this morning where someone wanted to lock colors. And again, like maybe that's not the way we lock colors to series long term, but it's a very clean way to do it because it's completely explicit. If a new series comes in, it goes into the other bucket or whatever. There's a lot of good arguments with calcs for blowing up the pivot a lot more. Like there's a reason that calcs in Excel are not done inside pivot tables. I've realized from our usage of it. And like, you know, the matrix stuff is still really powerful, but this is amazing.
It does work with more than one pivot. I demo that. Try it. At least this.
The naming question is probably pretty hard. Is there like a marketing person that's going to think through?
Yeah, someone should tell because I
Pivot
won't
boom.
call it pivot explode emoji, but I might call it explode the pivot if no one can give me a better name. So
I mean, I literally actually don't hate that. Like explode something with explode. I don't know. We can noodle with Sarah and Jared on it.
that's good. Yeah, think about it.
I really like a button that says boom though. That's really fun.
We can keep that button. I already put it in an end-to-end test, so
Is it in the pivot itself also? Like if you right click on the pivot header?
like where? Like here?
I can't see your screen.
Like here, you mean?
Yeah, or like
No,
even over here. I mean, this is
We-
already loaded, obviously, but like what would be here?
Nothing. But we could definitely at least put it just also linked.
Yeah, I think discovery. But again, like if we're able to predict when people actually want this, it's just
maybe
I think
here.
that people will want it in lots
Yeah.
of circumstances.
Yeah. If we
So
think
maybe
it's going to be a very common action, we could put it up in the toolbar, like when pivots are
Oh, yeah.
there, expose it.
Yeah. Like
Yeah, actually-
especially like even just the other thing is like very, very powerful in lots of circumstances.